Good day and welcome to Mining Review Africa in partnership with DRC Mining Week 2026. And today I'm speaking to Landry Djimpe, who's the managing partner of Innogence Consulting in the DRC. Landry will be speaking at this year's DRC Mining Week taking place in Lubumbashi from the 17th to the 19th of June. By way of introduction, Landry specializes in market analysis, investment strategy, and project development in the mining, energy, and financial services sector. With over a decade of experience, he has advised governments, development of finance institutions, and leading corporations on complex, high-impact initiatives. Landry is also the host of Beyond the Mine, which is a podcast exploring key trends shaping Africa's mining industry. His work focuses on unlocking value, strengthening ecosystems, and bridging global capital with African opportunities. Landry, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Gerald, for the invitation.
Great stuff. Now, Landry, in your opinion, what are some of the real issues that are preventing the DRC mining sector from developing, and what is the best way to address these challenges?
That's a great question, Gerald. As we all know, DRC is endowed with very incredible mineral resources, be it copper, cobalt, lithium, gold, diamonds, 3T. Almost every kind of the most important mineral resources can be found and located in the DRC. But then the mining industry still faces some very important structural barriers. I think the very first one will be a very weak infrastructure. The biggest challenge in DRC's infrastructure is definitely energy. Today, it is estimated that the DRC's mining industry at its current phase lacks approximately a little bit more than 2,000 megawatts of power. And this doesn't take into account the need for local transformation, local value addition. Then aside from energy, you have a gap in the road transportation system and the railway as well. For sure, you have initiatives like the Lobito Corridor trying to bridge the railway gap, but there is still a significant investments needed to be done to have an up to standard rail but also road infrastructure. And DRC being also quite landlocked aside from the south west part of the country. It is highly dependent on road networks from its neighboring countries like Zambia and the others. Another big challenge faced by the DRC's mining industry, like I said previously, is local very limited local value addition. And this can be explained by a whole number of factors, like I said, lack of electricity, but then also lack of, we can look at it as with lack of talent as well. And we then experience the a significant part of the minerals being exported in raw state instead of processed locally. Which means the whole value addition on these minerals are being captured by partners outside of DRC. I think another factor we see, another big and structural challenge we see facing the DRC's mining industry is security concerns. When you look at DRC, we often talk about the challenges in the eastern side of the country, around the Kivu region, where today you have the rebel groups that are challenging DRC's territory and sovereignty on its territory, and that is a region that concentrates the biggest the biggest chunk of minerals around 3T, so tin, tantalum, tungsten. Most of those minerals are located in that particular region of the country. Gold as well. But then now, what we don't often talk about is also what happens a little bit down around the Katanga and the Lualaba region, where you have a number of industrial sites that are being populated by artisanal miners, and which make it very challenging for some of the industrial miners in the country to operate because they are being overflown. I mean, their sites are being overflown by a number of artisanal miners. That renders their operations quite challenging. So that's also something very important. And then maybe the last but not the least, or another big challenge for the industry, for the mining industry in the RC, are what I'll call the environmental and social issues. So today it is estimated that the artisanal mining industry employs roughly 2 million people around different minerals, be it gold, cobalt, copper, and everything. That means, and among those artisanal miners, we find children. So we have kind of child labor. You have very vulnerable people, pregnant women that we can find in those value chains. So these are things, and the significant number of environmental degradation damages that happen in the industry, and that also kind of degrades the sector's reputation in the world market. So I think that those are what I would say are four of the biggest challenges I can see today in the industry. And some of the ways to bridge those gaps or to address those issues, I would say is mostly lies around collaboration. So the first one will be around investment. There is a need for significant investment in infrastructure, and the collaboration lies between public and private partnerships for roads, for rails, for power. We are seeing some of those being developed, but we need to go higher and stronger on that. I mean, private capital alone cannot unlock the level of investment needed. There is a need for government intervention as well to help circumvent and limit the risk that can be perceived by the private sector. Private sector itself cannot take all the risk on those investments. They definitely need the public sector to play its own role in circumventing the risk that can be identified on those projects. There is a need to formalize as well the artisanal mining space to improve safety, traceability, but even tax collection. I mean, we saw just during this, at the beginning of this year, we had two major incidents in the artisanal mining space in DRC with a little bit more than 50 dead people in each of those incidents. This is very regrettable, and especially in 2026, in a country that has more than 100 years of mining history. So we definitely need to help and those artisanal miners to have more safety practices, help them safeguard their activities. But this will also help improve the traceability of the minerals coming from the RC. When you look at a mineral like cobalt, for example, that is being for which 20% of its production is from the artisanal industry. It is being challenged now by the international buyers, because the whole of DRC's cobalt is being challenged by international buyers, because buyers can say, we can testify which part of your cobalt is from artisanal mining and which one is from industrial mining, especially given the bad reputation that the artisanal mining space can have today on international markets. So there is a need to help formalize the artisanal mining space to help improve the traceability and give more guarantees to the international buyers and users that the DRC's cobalt is traceable and is done from responsible mining practices. But also, this formalization can also improve tax collection as well and improve public finance. So there is definitely a need for that. There is a need to promote local processing around smelting and refining to capture more value locally, domestically. So I mean, when you look at the DRC's mining industry today, it's most of the value is being captured outside of the country. We need to say this, but then we need to also put in place the right the right ecosystem for the investors, for the private investors to come. And this means having the right regulation. This means strengthening governance around the industry, and improving transparency in the way contracts are being signed and permits are being allocated, and and all those things, and also improving the way security and the rule of law. And those bringing all of those together brings more guarantees and securities for the private investors to come and invest in one of the biggest challenge for local value addition, which is energy, but also invest in talent, in talent development, and the transportation infrastructure necessary as well, the roads and the rails. So that's like I said, for me, the challenges are there, but definitely there are ways to mitigate those challenges, and that means collaboration between the public and the private sector. Both of them has its own part to play to address those issues.
Right. Now, Landry, you've touched on collaboration between the public and private sector to address challenges such as infrastructure, geopolitical tensions, and also other legacy issues. But how do we ensure that we create a mining sector that benefits ultimately the people of the DRC, especially mining communities?
Oh, that's a, I mean, that's definitely that's a question that will be central to everything we do in the industry. I mean, local beneficiation, especially for communities around the mining operations, is very much essential. And I think it is around first thing for me is around stakeholders engagement, especially the local communities engagement. So when you look at DRC, for example, every mining operator has a number of, I would say, social obligations
Yeah.
that are breaking down in so many things. They have the cahier de charge, they have their redevance, and a whole number of things. And most of the times, in some of these mechanisms that are put in place for like value added redistribution among the whole community. Most of these local communities are not very much engaged in what is being done by the mining operators. Some of the decisions are being taken at the national level, not always taking in consideration what happens and what are needed locally. So, and this also speaks to the company's social licenses to operate, which is something that is not always very much taken into consideration when working on all the social mechanisms for wealth redistribution around the space. But there is definitely a need to for more community engagement in the way these social mechanisms are being framed for them to make sure that the local communities really benefit from that. But there is also a need for transparent revenue management. So today, for example, among the social mechanisms put in place, there is 0.3% of the revenue from the mining operator that needs to be given to the local communities. But today, no one knows. I mean, few people know how this money is being managed. There is no public disclosure of, first of all, of mining revenues, but then also public disclosure of how the revenues are being invested. What is being done, and how is the money being used by the local authorities? So there is a need for more transparency on these issues. Secondly, as well, there is a need to adopt, stronger or enforcing all the ESG frameworks or standards that are put in place either by the mining code from 2018 or all the other measures put in place by the mining ministry and other the administration. Because with all the hazards that we have been having since a few that are being revealed since the last months, we see that there is still a long way to go for the mining operators to be aligned with the ESG standard that they're supposed to be upholding. So there is a need to make sure that the ESG frameworks that are put in place are being enforced and being respected by the operators. But also, I think we need to push for more collaboration between regional stakeholders. Today, one of the biggest providers of energy for the DRC's mining space is Zambia, for example.
Yeah.
Zambia is a big provider. There are huge projects in Angola, for example, to send power to build plants, production plants, and transmission lines for the DRC's mining space. I think such initiative needs to be scaled up There is a need for, and when you look at it, even if you look at the greater Eastern region, we often talk about DRC's endowment, but when you look at countries like Zambia or even Tanzania, the complementarity as per minerals, we can build value chains, let's say battery value chains along those corridors, for example, between DRC, Zambia, and Tanzania. If you have to talk about chemistry, we can build a whole battery value chain between those three countries, and Zambia and Tanzania, even given its exposure to the ocean, can give a logistics or supply chain advantage. So I think a regional collaboration around infrastructure, albeit power, transportation, but also around value chains like the battery value chain we're talking about mining here, can definitely be a way to make sure there is more local added value. There is added value that stays locally, and also I think there is a need to invest. Like I said, one of the big challenges as well for hindering local value addition is skills development and workforce development as well. So I think there is a need to invest in local training programs, and that can be done with partnerships with universities and technical institutes, especially local universities with universities in countries that are way more advanced in technologies that absorb our minerals. Like I said, collaboration will definitely be the key to unlock local capture of the added value around the mining industry.
Absolutely. One final question, Landry. Now, this is your first time speaking at DRC Mining Week. Tell me about the importance of this event in shaping the future of the country's mining sector.
Oh, yeah. So I think the DRC Mining Week is the biggest importance for DRC Mining Week in this conversation is it's a platform that brings together all the stakeholders. So at DRC Mining Week, we can definitely find everyone, be them authorities like the administration, the DRC's administration. We can meet like government officials. We can meet the mining companies, the local communities, the NGOs and civil society. We also meet like international investors, the partners. The whole ecosystem is present there. So that's definitely a place where we can have where we can have a conversation with all the right players around the table being convened in one same place. So and having been quite frequent at DRC Mining Week, this will be my first time to speak, but maybe my fifth time to attend the event. It has always been a real catalyst on these conversations, and I'm sure that as we're meeting in June, from the 17th to the 19th, these conversations will be on the table, and the right people will be there to address those issues and stir or stimulate the collaborative efforts we need to bridge the gap, or the value addition redistribution gap we need in the mining industry.
Great stuff. Well, Landry Djimpe, Managing Partner of Innogence Consulting, DRC, thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to meeting you in person at DRC Mining Week in June.
Thank you very much, Gerald.
Okay. And just one final note to our audience. For more information on DRC Mining Week 2026, you can visit drcminingweek.com. Until next time, goodbye.